Introduction to the Resurrection of the Martial Art of Rebirth. The greatest of martial arts is to slay demons and slay demons. The great hero of chivalry moves freely and skillfully. Spiritual revival and global evolution. Rebirth of martial arts, dominating the world. Chapter 1. Let me love you again. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Wuxia Kingdom. Yangqing. Yangqing University. School of Economics and Management. Staircase Classroom. On the podium, a middle-aged man with a delicate face is explaining Stiglitz's economics course. In the vast classroom, there are 50.60 students sitting, all of whom are first-year students majoring in marketing from Marketing Class 1 and Marketing Class 2. Interestingly, looking up at the students facing the podium, there were only a dozen or so. Most of the remaining people were bowing their heads, some were playing with their phones, some were dozing off, and some even lay flat on the table, sleeping soundly. The handsome man had already noticed the situation below, but obviously did not disturb their thoughts. Instead, he continued to passionately explain economic principles at his own pace. Ding-ling-ling. The bell rang for the end of class. The handsome man slammed his textbook shut, didn't even say hello, and walked away with both hands and one back, causing the dozen or so students who looked up to listen to the lesson to be stunned. Immediately after, the classroom suddenly became lively, and those classmates who used to play with their phones and doze off seemed to be in full bloom, all energized. There is only one exception. That is a boy sitting in the last row of the staircase classroom. His head was resting on a book, looking like he was sleeping soundly. Strangely enough, his body kept trembling. Just like a person wearing a single garment, trembling in the icy cold wind. Even, his left finger was constantly shaking up and down in large amplitude, without stopping for a moment. At this moment, a girl dressed in pink stood up and walked towards the back row of the staircase classroom. Shwa shwa shwa. Almost everyone's gaze turned to the girl, filled with a fiery and indescribable emotion. Niu Yuan Yuan. It's the girl wearing a pink dress. She is about 1.65 meters tall, with a curvaceous and graceful figure. Her small face, about the size of a palm, looks like a fairy, especially her big eyes, which seem to be able to speak, always full of laughter. As is well known, she is the most beautiful girl in the marketing major this year. Some even say that she can definitely be considered one of the beauties of the School of Economics and Management. Since entering school, hundreds of male students have shown her deep love, including some super handsome guys and wealthy second generation. Even a student from the neighboring art school crazily expressed deep affection to her, and for 10 consecutive days, candles of love were placed downstairs in her dormitory. In the end, she even knelt on the ground, reciting, singing, and crying. However, all of this is useless. Niu Yuan Yuan is simply too lazy to bother with them. Because this fresh courtyard flower, which makes all boys drool, has already taken over as a famous flower. This drives many people crazy. Because their instincts tell them that getting her is really important. Undoubtedly, this is related to physical and mental health. Apart from going crazy, they are also very angry. Because the guy who has taken over this courtyard flower has neither money nor appearance, and the family relationship is not strong. His studies are nothing but useless and useless. Unfortunately, for some reason, Niu Yuan Yuan fell in love with that fool in everyone's eyes. She always appeared by his side with a smile when there was something to do. This very abnormal phenomenon almost makes everyone feel envious, jealous, resentful, and hostile towards the guy who always sleeps in the corner, with deep resentment. Flowers planted on cow dung. This is the view of almost all students on this matter. Yi Chong. It's that cow dung. That's the big trash who always likes to sleep in the corner. Learning is not good. Poor health. Sleep in class. After class, there were no pictures. Why not do it? There is nothing left to eat. School garbage. The lower echelons of society. But saying nothing is useless. Someone loves them. At this moment, Niu Yuanyuan, with her graceful figure resembling a lotus in water, was laughing like a flower and rushing towards Yi, who was still sleeping. Moreover, she actually held an insulated lunch box in her hand. All the students who saw this scene were about to cry. How could it be like this? This is simply anti-human. I have delicious barbecue rice here. Does anyone like it? Niu Yuanyuan smiled and opened the insulated lunchbox, placing it on the table. She then gently touched the other person's cheek and immediately withdrew her hand, blushing. It's already class over, get up quickly. Get up. Yi Chong struggled to open his eyes, looking dazed, and let out a light sigh. I can't get up anymore. What are you saying? Niu Yuanyuan was slightly taken aback and reached out to grab the opponent's shaking left hand. However, she didn't want to be knocked back half a step with a loud bang and exclaimed, Yi Chong, why is the static electricity on your body so strong? Yi Chong looked at the other person in confusion, as if he was foolish. Are you feeling unwell? Let's go to the school hospital and have a look. Niu Yuanyuan's face was pale, her expression tense, and she reached out to touch the other person's arm, but it seemed like something was coming to her mind right away. She reached out halfway and then put it down again. What's going on? Yi Chong closed his eyes, suddenly opened them again, looked around, and his face suddenly changed. I was forced into a place where I must die by the top 10 demon kings, and my marching soldiers were disbanded. How could it suddenly appear here? Where is this? I feel so familiar. It seems to come from the deepest part of my memory. Suddenly, Yi Chong stared closely at the girl in front of him, his eyes flickering with ever-changing shadows. Next up, his body suddenly trembled wildly. And in his eyes, endless tears suddenly welled up, as if pouring rain, tears streaming down his face. His gaze towards Niu Yuanyuan was filled with strong love, pity, reluctance, and enthusiasm. Niu Yuanyuan couldn't help but blush as she looked at the scene in front of her. Despite everything, she hugged the other person and also shed tears. Yuanyuan, hurry up and tell me, am I dreaming? Yi Chong lifted the other person's small face and gently kissed the girl's eyes, a slightly salty warm feeling pouring into his mouth. Yi Chong, don't you scare me, okay? Niu Yuanyuan's delicate body trembled slightly and she hugged her tightly. We were just in economics, and you fell asleep. I brought you food, Suddenly, Yi Chong lowered his head and kissed her red lips. Both of them trembled and refused to say any more. However, his heart was frantically shouting. I am reborn. Returning to 100 years ago. Back to the college days that haunted my dreams but left me regretful. At this moment, the front row of the staircase classroom was booed. What a great cabbage. It's just being eaten by a pig. Niu Yuanyuan is beautiful, but she has a problem with her eyesight. Leave a bunch of handsome guys aside, insisting on getting along with a useless trash. It's really sick. Let's go, let's continue reading. It's not suitable for children anymore. Let's go see the little asterisk. Niu Yuanyuan blushed and looked at the boy in front of her, her eyes filled with concern and worry. Yi Chong, are you really okay? The static electricity on your body just now was so strong, it scared me to death. I'm fine, Yi Chong touched the other person's small head with his hand, unable to conceal his excitement. I had a nightmare just now, did I scare you? At this point, he suddenly turned his head to look at the insulated lunch box on the table and smiled, saying, Yuanyuan, is this the food you brought me? It's been a long time since I've tasted this delicious food. Nonsense. Niu Yuanyuan took the insulated lunch box over and handed it to Yi Chong, angrily saying, didn't we just have barbecue rice last night? I know you like this, so I bought you another one this morning. Hurry up, there's also roast goose added to it. Really? Wow, roast goose, it's been a long time. Yi Chong picked up the insulated lunchbox, paused in his voice, and smiled. Yuan, you can also eat together. I'll eat it myself. I'm sorry. Yi Chong, you're so weird today. Yuan looked at the man in front of her quietly, her eyes affectionate. It gives me a feeling like we haven't seen each other for a long time. Cough cough. Yi Chong turned his head and coughed, with a hint of wetness in his eyes. Long time no see. Who? It's really been a long time. It has been a whole 100 years. 100 years ago, yes, today, you had an accident that made me miss you for a whole 100 years, regret it for 100 years, and even more painful for 100 years. It hurts. That is the pain that comes from the deepest part of the soul, unforgettable, and difficult to extricate. I didn't expect it. Today. I was unexpectedly reborn. It's such a happy thing to hold you in my arms, kiss your tears, and eat the barbecue rice you brought. I swear. I will not let the past happen again. I want you to live a happy and fulfilling life. Yuan, don't participate in the rehearsal tonight. Yi Chong raised his eyes and gazed at the other person with deep affection. Let's go see a movie together, okay? Hee, where's the rehearsal today? It's tomorrow. Yuan smiled brightly, giving people a sunny feeling. So what movie are we watching? The sound of footsteps came in waves. Yuan, I've been looking for you for a while. A tall girl walked up from a distance with a smile. The rehearsal time has been advanced. Tonight, don't forget, there's still a surprise waiting for you after the rehearsal, hee. Yuan was slightly taken aback, then instinctively glanced at Yi Chong and then looked at the tall girl, saying, Song Jiafeng, didn't we agree last time that rehearsal would be tomorrow? Starting today is too hasty, isn't it? Hee, won't I tell you? There's a reason for being early. Song Jiafeng coldly glanced at Yi Chong and then said close to Yuan's ear, there's a big shot who wants to watch our performance. Dress up nicely, I'm leaving. Yu reading www.uukangshu.net. After speaking, Song Jiafeng rolled her eyes at Yi Chong and drifted away. Yuan, don't go today. Yi Chong put down his lunchbox and sighed, why don't you accompany me to the movie? But. I'm the protagonist of the performance. If I don't go. I'm afraid. Wouldn't it be too good? Yuan frowned slightly, looking puzzled. Suddenly, she looked up at the other person and said, Yi Chong, how did you know that I had to rehearse tonight? I guessed. Yi Chong smiled slightly, but couldn't hide the sadness in his eyes. If you can't refuse, then I'll go with you. Hee, why are you free today? We used to invite you to go, but you didn't go either. Yuan cheered and laughed, after rehearsal, let's have supper together, okay? Okay, I'll listen to you. Yi Chong's eyes lit up and he nodded. Yi Chong, you're really good. Yuan smiled brightly, let's go quickly. The next class is marketing management. In the classroom of international trade, if you're too late, you'll be late. Humph, you didn't even eat the barbecue rice I bought. You go first, Yuan. Yi Chong picked up the insulated lunchbox. The most important thing for me now is to finish this world's best barbecue rice. Hee. Yuan's face turned red. Then I'll go. Remember to drink more water. You have a lot of static electricity on your body, so you should discharge it now. Discharge. Yi Chong watched as Yuan gracefully walked away, while gulping down the fork-cooked rice. He didn't lift his head until he finished eating every grain of rice in the insulated lunchbox. Of course. Perhaps the discharge time will be tonight. Yi Chong's eyes were shrouded in an arc, dazzling and extraordinary. Chapter 2. We must hurry now. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. In the vast staircase classroom, only Yi Chong was left. Memories of the past appear one by one as if in a movie. Among these memories, the most unacceptable and unforgettable thing for him was the passing of Niu Yuanyuan. The reason is tonight's aerobics rehearsal. In the previous life, he did not accompany her, leaving behind a lifetime of regret and regret. In this life, he will never make the same mistake and let the tragedy happen again. Don't worry, Yuanyuan. I will use all my efforts to change your destiny and make you the happiest woman in the world. Yi Chong's eyes were bright, and he looked out the window. The bright sunshine seemed to nod and laugh, colorful and full of vitality. Throughout the morning, Yi Chong sat in his original position, straight and contemplating. As a public classroom, the staircase classroom is bustling with people, but it has not affected it in the slightest. At noon, Niu Yuanyuan came to look for her, but he persuaded her to go back after all. There's no way. He must be in a hurry now. Only by quickly connecting the memories of 2 lifetimes can he come up with solutions to problems and rediscover his current self. Of course, there is another reason. He can't move. To be precise, his legs are numb and unable to move at all. He knew that this was likely because after rebirth, the new and old divine senses had not yet fully merged, so he could not fully control his body. What Yi Chong needs to do now is to solve this problem as soon as possible, at least before nightfall, otherwise it will be too late. At this point, memories were shuttling back and forth in his mind, blending seamlessly, and everything slowly became clear. However, as memories became clear and memories surfaced, his brow also furrowed into a knot. And his heart began to drip blood and cry, even emitting silent roars. He grew up in an ordinary family of 4, although not wealthy, he was carefree in food and drink, from childhood to adulthood. However, just a month before the college entrance examination, his family suddenly disappeared, including his parents and the cutest little sister. The house was turned upside down. All the things that could be smashed were smashed. No one knows what happened. Even Uncle Long, who specializes in investigating this matter, has no clue. In the following month, Yi Chong frantically searched for his family, but in the end, he found nothing, as if they had completely disappeared from this world. This matter seriously affected his studies, causing his grades to decline all the way. However, he still took the college entrance examination as scheduled because it was the expectation of his parents. As soon as the college entrance examination ended, he continued to frantically search for his family. He always felt that his parents and younger sister must be in great need of him now. And it's very likely that I miss him in a tragic corner. Who? Yi Chong's gaze was heavy and he looked out the window. At that time, he didn't know why his family went missing, and even when he went to college, he still struggled to find them, refused to give up, and had no intention of studying. Even in the process of searching for his family, he encountered danger multiple times, and it was not easy for him to survive. Now that he has memories of his past life, he understands very well what exactly happened. Don't worry, Dad, Mom, and little sister, you will always be my family. Yi Chong pursed his lips tightly and his gaze was firm. In this life, I will definitely make those bastards break to pieces and pay the price they deserve. Who? Yi Chong's eyes were cold, and he took a deep breath. Soon, he smiled slightly again, his face showing tenderness. If there is still a glimmer of happiness in the process of searching for family, it is meeting Niu Yuanyuan. I still remember that night, while searching for my family on a remote street, I saw 3 little hooligans stop her as she rode by. I don't know why, but I just grabbed a brick and rushed up. But my body is weak, how can I beat 3 guys with knives? I was quickly knocked to the ground, covered in blood. But every time I shout to get up and then rush up. I even broke the heads of 2 hooligans with a brick. Later, another group of pedestrians passed by and scared the 3 hooligans away. Think about it now, it's really a bit scary. If those rogue knives were stabbed a little harder, perhaps everything that happened later would be gone. Afterwards, she and the pedestrians took me to the hospital and stayed by my side until I was discharged. During that period, we became good friends who talked about everything and learned her name. That feeling is very pure, just like what was portrayed in a movie, innocent and easy to feel sad. Especially for me, after losing my family for such a long time, a true love suddenly appeared again, very gentle and heartwarming, both like love and family affection. Without this love, I don't know if I could still live. Niu Yuanyuan loves dancing very much. After the college entrance examination, she went to a preschool dance class as a teacher. On the evening of the accident, which was just after class, she took a shortcut to save time. Unexpectedly, the accident happened. Whenever this matter is mentioned, she would smile and say, "Yi Chong, you are my true destiny. You are also my lucky grandfather." After hearing this, he felt a little unhappy and asked, "I'm not a eunuch, why do you call me Duke Fu?" Niu Yuanyuan always laughs wildly and says, I don't care, you're mine anyway." When he thought of this, Yi Chong couldn't help but smile on his face. Later, due to his mediocre performance in the college entrance examination and in order to facilitate the search for family, he applied to Yangqing University and successfully entered the School of Economics and Management to study marketing. Unexpectedly, Niu Yuanyuan also applied for the same major at Yangqing University, and the two were even assigned to the same class. But she didn't tell him about all of this in advance. Otherwise, he would definitely advise her not to be so foolish. When he heard this news, his heart was both excited and sad, and he didn't know whether to be happy or sad. He hid in the room and thought for a long time, full of self-blame. He was well aware that Niu Yuanyuan's college entrance examination score was nearly 100 points higher than her own. Even if she applied to several prestigious universities in the capital, there was no problem with this score, but she actually chose Yangqing University. She did this, even a fool would understand why. But precisely because he understood this, Yi Chong felt even more anxious in his heart. He felt that he had delayed Niu Yuanyuan, who had better development prospects. Especially after that incident, he was in unbearable pain and blamed himself for a whole 100 years. How could she have died so tragically if she hadn't chosen to attend Yangqing University because she wanted to be with him? Now, pitiful to see, it has brought me back to this turning point that determines my life's fate. Of course, I must cherish it. Yi Chong suddenly stood up and extended his right fist to hit the table, making a loud noise. Niu Yuanyuan, my girl, as long as I am here, no one can make you unhappy. No one can decide your life or death. Scream. Scream. The students and teachers in the staircase classroom, who didn't know which major to teach, all looked over in shock. Yi Chong finally realized that, unconsciously, it was already afternoon time and the staircase classroom was already filled with people. He smiled awkwardly and then sat down. That classmate, if you don't like listening to my class, you can leave. A male teacher in his 30s looked coldly at Yi Chong on the podium. I don't want to be disturbed during class. I don't want you to affect other classmates. No, teacher, I'm sorry. Yi Chong smiled apologetically again, I really enjoy listening to your lectures on organizational behavior. I will listen carefully. Wow. For some reason, a burst of laughter erupted from the scene. The teacher on the podium shook his head, gave him a cold glance, then picked up his textbook and started reading foreign languages. Who? Yi Chong's face heated up and he awkwardly crossed his legs. Schwa. He couldn't help but change his face, and an endless burst of ecstasy appeared. Can I move now? Quickly, Yi Chong pinched his thigh with his hand and confirmed this. At the same time, a sparkling light appeared in his eyes. Lu Shiqiang, the famous young master of Yangqing City, was the initiator of Yuanyuan's death. If it weren't for this bastard coveting Yuanyuan's beauty and leading people to try to dominate, Yuanyuan wouldn't have jumped off a building just to maintain her innocence. The most despicable thing is that things have already happened, and they even fabricated the scene, making people mistakenly think that Yuan jumped off the building because she was drunk. Who? Yi Chong let out a long breath, his eyes icy cold. If it weren't for my disbelief in this and my hard work in finding the surveillance footage taken from upstairs across the street and discovering the truth, then Yuan would really have died without closing her eyes. When I saw Yuan, her eyes were open, filled with unwillingness, pain, and despair. When I closed her eyes, tears still flowed down. Yi Chong slowly closed his eyes, his mind filled with painful memories. And there's Song Jiafeng, this slut. When he spent several months truly uncovering the truth, he realized that this slut had clearly played a role in fueling the situation. Yuan is really too kind. This kindness made her not see through Song Jiafeng, not knowing that she was actually a mother wolf in sheep's clothing. If it weren't for the conclusive evidence of what she did, who would have believed that a young and beautiful girl would have a heart like a snake and a scorpion? Okay. Tonight. Let me join Yuan in witnessing Song Jiafeng's ugly face. And my top priority now is to quickly become stronger. After all, my current body is still the same as 100 years ago. In this era of advocating military force, it can be described as having no strength to bind a chicken with one's hands. Let's not talk about anything else, let's talk about Xianxia University. Although the humanities and science majors and discipline construction of this university are at a second rate in China and are not worth mentioning, it can still rank among the top tier in the development and construction of martial arts in the country. It is precisely for this reason that there are many martial arts clubs on the campus of Xianxia University, both formal and informal, ranging from thousands to hundreds. Many of these clubs have achieved quite good rankings in regional and even national martial arts competitions, winning many honors for Xianxia University. If I can't make my body stronger as soon as possible, let alone accompany Yuan to participate in rehearsals at night, can it be reliable? Just on the campus of Xianxia University, I'm afraid it's also difficult to move forward. You should know. Xianxia University advocates military force, which is not just talk and don't do, but there are many measures and rules to promote the construction of martial arts. For example, the rule of in an outdoor environment, everyone has the right to challenge another person, is very intriguing. Accepting a challenge is often a bloody battle, with no winner or loser, never giving up. As long as there are no casualties, it's not a big deal. If you don't accept the challenge, you need to admit defeat in person, and even do some unwilling things according to the other person's requirements, suffering humiliation. Yi Chong shook his head with a bitter smile, and then his eyes gradually calmed down. He came from 100 years later, and during these hundreds of years, he has experienced a lot. Whether it is experience, lessons, or martial arts techniques, they are all very rich. However, in this world where spiritual energy is extremely scarce, the available techniques are limited. Especially in order to improve one's own strength as soon as possible and make him rapidly stronger, there are even fewer techniques. Building techniques. This is the most suitable technique he can think of now. As the name suggests, the cultivation of building body art aims to build a strong body, with body cultivation as the main focus and spiritual energy as a supplement. In the early stages, there was not a high demand for the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, which is most suitable for the current environment. However, to get started with this technique, the first step is to unlock the shackles of the body. Only in this way can the door of the body be completely opened and one stride forward on the path of cultivation. Just breaking the shackles is not easy for ordinary people, and they may not even be able to do it for the rest of their lives. However, this is not a problem for me. Because I have had 100 years of experience, all the constraints are in my mind. I know how to break them and make my body fully open. Yi Chong slowly closed his eyes. Yu reading www.yuukeangshu.net. Not long after, his body began to tremble slightly. That feeling is like having a high fever and playing around. However, During this process, there were still some faint black gases floating out of his body surface. Clack 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 clack. The stool where Yi Chong was sitting made a strange sound, and there was a tendency for it to gradually increase. Schwa schwa schwa. Countless gazes turned to the back of the staircase classroom, some with doubts, some with anger, and some full of sarcasm. The male teacher in his 30s stopped reading and gave Yi Chong a cold glance. He then shook his head and started explaining again. Ding-ling-ling. The bell rang for the end of class. The staircase classroom quickly became noisy, but it didn't take long for it to return to quietness. Schwa. Yi Chong opened his eyes, and there was a glimmer of brilliance shining inside. Immediately after, he stood up and waved his hand casually, causing an explosive sound in the air, as if a fighter jet was flying low. I have become. Thanks to 100 years of experience and lessons, my practice of building body art was effortless, and without encountering any obstacles, I perfectly broke the shackles. The most important thing is that my understanding of building body art is much stronger than when I first started practicing in the previous life, and this is very important. This makes my skills stronger than those of my peers, and with 100 years of combat experience and skills, my strength is definitely worth looking forward to. Yi Chong, are you finished with your work? Niu Yuanyuan's delicate and sweet voice sounded from the entrance of the staircase classroom. Hurry up, we should go now. Chapter 3. Challenges. You are listening at novelfull.audio. It was during the afternoon after school that Yi Chong and Niu Yuanyuan walked side by side in the campus, with red flowers and green grass, birds singing and flowers fragrant. The bright sunshine shone on them, and almost all the students passing by cast jealous glances. Yi Chong looked at the familiar and unfamiliar environment in front of him, with a somewhat dazed expression. Coupled with the faint fragrance emanating from the girl beside him, he felt a leisurely feeling in his body and mind, as if he didn't want to wake up in a dream. Niu Yuanyuan smiled happily, even quietly holding onto the other person's arm and leaning her pretty head against his shoulder. The wind lifted a strand of hair, fluttering between his lips and teeth, making his eyes blurred. Suddenly, Yi Chong hugged Niu Yuanyuan's body and rolled it around in a circle. Schwa. Squeak. A bicycle that passed by from behind suddenly stopped ahead. A tall and sturdy man turned his head and roared. Why don't you have long eyes? Nima's trash. Yen Dong. Yi Chong immediately recognized the person coming. This guy is also one of the prominent figures in the School of Economics and Management at Yangqing University. He is handsome, can play basketball, and is one of Niu Yuanyuan's pursuers. Recently, he has been even more crazy, finding various reasons to approach her and even following her. After Niu Yuanyuan refused him very clearly, this guy didn't know how to restrain himself. Instead, he intensified and began to relentlessly fight, showing a determined attitude of never giving up until he achieved his goal. For this matter, Niu Yuanyuan also tried every means to avoid meeting her, and even stopped living in the dormitory. With the help of Yi Chong, she even rented a house near the school. However, Yen Dong still refused to give up, unable to block Niu Yuanyuan, and began to trouble Yi Chong again. Even once, I almost got into a fight. If it weren't for a visiting delegation from the Martial Arts Association being active in the school at that time, Yi Chong would probably have been challenged by Yen Dong. As for the outcome after the challenge occurs, it is estimated that everyone can imagine it. Yi Chong would definitely lie on the ground covered in blood, his eyes filled with anger, shame, and despair, and then lower his head amidst the mocking voices of the other person and those around him. There's no way. Compared to Yen Dong, Yi Chong looks weak and explosive. Yen Dong, I've already told you that it's impossible between us. Please don't bother me. Niu Yuanyuan's face was cold, looking at the other person's gaze with a hint of annoyance. My boyfriend and I have something else to do, please step aside. Yo hey, you still have a boyfriend. You're quite intimate, aren't you? Yan Dongka pushed his bike hard to the ground and then looked at Yi Chong arrogantly. Yuan, what do you think you can do with this little bean sprout vegetable? If you have anything to do, come to me. Look at my physique and these long legs, why can't you do it? Boom. At some point, among the students who gathered around, a burst of loud laughter erupted. Yan Dong, you're going too far. Niu Yuan looked very angry, almost crying. My boyfriend is better than you anywhere. There's only one thing he can't compare to you. He's not as rough as you. Is everything better than me? Ha ha ha. Yan Dong hugged him with both hands and laughed 3 times, then looked up at Yi Chong's body with great interest and sneered, I think he's younger than me everywhere, right? Also, what's not rough? Remove wild and speak. Wow. More and more students are watching, and the scene is becoming increasingly noisy. You are simply unreasonable. Niu Yuan lightly stomped her foot, her eyes turning red with anger. I have to say, Yuan, you look really nice when you're angry. I like it. Yan Dong smacked his lips, shook his legs, and his eyes were full of a squinting smell. So, brother can't let this flower of yours be blamed by this poor and useless person. You go away. Niu Yuan's face turned red with anger and she cried silently. It should be said that Niu Yuan is a very simple girl, and she even believes that everyone in the world should be as kind as her. It wasn't until that night, when she met 3 little hooligans on that remote street, that she painfully admitted that the world wasn't always full of sunshine. However, as she watched Yi Chong, a stranger of the same age, sacrifice her life for herself, her eyes lit up again and she fell in love with him all of a sudden. She felt that when she was with him, there was a special sense of security that allowed her to let go of everything, do nothing, and return to the carefree era of little girls. So, when someone suddenly poses a threat to this newly established sense of security, it makes her very anxious, angry, but she doesn't know what to do. Yuan, let's go, don't pay attention to him. Yi Chong couldn't help but feel a sense of happiness and heartache when he saw Niu Yuan crying anxiously for himself. As long as 2 people can walk hand in hand together, even if they encounter some flies and mosquitoes on the road, it is not a big deal and will never affect their firm steps together. After all, the incident at night was the key to determining her lifelong fate. Before that, Yi Chong did not want to waste her time, energy, or even anger. Nimas. Let's go. Where do you want to go? Yan Dong shook his head and said with a grin, if you want to go, it's okay. I need to fix my bike first. Hee, if you hit my bike and want to leave, you want to pat your butt. There's no way. You rode over from behind us and almost hit us. Niu Yuan was so angry that her body trembled. Moreover, this bike was clearly damaged by you just now, why did you want us to compensate? Yuan, go aside. It's none of your business here. Yan Dong smiled and glanced at Niu Yuan, then glared fiercely at Yi Chong. Later, I want you to see with your own eyes how useless this big trash is following you. Shua. Niu Yuan stepped forward and stood in front of Yi Chong, angrily saying, Yan Dong, I won't let you bully him. Ha, Yuan, what are you doing? Are you protecting him? Yan Dong laughed arrogantly and looked at Yi Chong with a disdainful expression. A big man is protected by a woman, and only you, a garbage big waste, can do it for Yangqing University, right? Get out of the way. Yi Chong looked coldly at Yan Dong, his tone calm. My second Olympics. Yan Dong shook his long legs and sneered, the little guy hiding behind the beautiful woman's butt, you look very fierce. Do you know, I'm really scared. Boom. Amidst the onlookers, laughter erupted once again. Yan Dong shook his legs and looked around, his face filled with inexplicable excitement. Yi Chong, don't pay attention to him. Niu Yuanyuan's body was cold and her face was pale. He's just a lunatic. Hee, the big useless head hidden behind a woman, hiding is useless. Yen Dong looked contemptuous. Now, I officially challenge you. Boom boom. The noise on site suddenly became lively and reached new heights. What? Yen Dong is challenging Yi Chong. Huh, is this making a scene? What's the difference between this special and the tiger declaring war on the cat? This is not even a heavyweight. Huh, it seems that Yen Dong really didn't intend to let go of Yi Chong this time. It's okay if he doesn't challenge, but Yi Chong shamelessly handled it and passed it. If he challenges, then it's really over. According to the school's rules, the challenged party either faces the challenge and sees whose fist is hard, or refuses to face the challenge and accepts the challenger's demands. There is no third way to go. Judging from this situation, no matter what, Yi Chong is doomed today. Niu Yuanyuan, the beautiful woman, is going to be sad. Niu Yuanyuan was so sad that she was about to cry. She understands very well what the challenges on the campus of Yangqing University mean. She looked at Yi Chong with a strong look of self-blame in her eyes. If it weren't for her, how could he have suffered today's insult? If you accept the challenge, then we will fight like men. It's life or death, talk like cows. Yen Dong shook his legs and looked at Yi Chong. If you don't accept the challenge, then lie on the ground and turn twice, learn 2 dog barks, and from now on, never appear by Niu Yuanyuan's side. Scream. Scream. The noise kept rising one after another, and Yu reading www.yuyukangshu.net kept coming one after another. In the crowd of onlookers, each person's gaze towards Yi Chong was filled with a strong sense of pity and ridicule. Okay. I accept the challenge. Yi Chong smiled slightly and gently pulled away Niu Yuanyuan. Boom boom. The scene was instantly like a boiling pot, plunged into complete madness. As Yen Dong was stunned, Yi Chong had already taken a step forward. The former instinctively reached out to block, but the latter grabbed his wrist instead. Buzz. A burst of air burst out suddenly. Yen Dong's massive body soared into the air and was then violently swung in the air. Follow closely. Bang. Yen Dong's body was violently smashed to the ground. Ah ah. A scream suddenly rang out. What? How could this be possible? Everyone on site was stunned. Yen Dong was vomiting blood while trembling with pain, and his body was already filled with feces and urine. Even Niu Yuanyuan had a pair of beautiful big eyes wide open, clearly a bit confused. Is he really the same Yi Chong as before? Why is it so strong? Yen Dong, who was tall and sturdy, was swung up with one hand and hit on the ground. Shwa shwa shwa. Everyone in the crowd looked at Yi Chong with a strong look of disbelief in their eyes. Quiet. The scene suddenly fell silent, as if time had come to a standstill. Let's go, Yuanyuan. Yi Chong gently grabbed her hand and said softly, let's not delay. Niu Yuanyuan blushed under the gaze of everyone, and an indescribable sense of happiness arose. Chapter 4, Baby. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Puff. Yen Dong opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of old blood, glaring fiercely at Yi Chong and Niu Yuanyuan, his eyes filled with resentment. Yi Chong, you bastard, don't think you're awesome. I won't let you go. Sooner or later, I'll kill you. Yi Chong slightly turned his head and glanced coldly at the other person, with a murderous intent emerging in his eyes. Clack 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 clack. Yen Dong trembled with fear, his eyes confused, and he avoided the other person's gaze. With a movement of his throat, he swallowed a mouthful of saliva and made a strange noise between his legs. Wow! A burst of loud laughter erupted at the scene. Yi Chong curled his lips, too lazy to pay attention to the other person, and pulled Niu Yuanyuan forward. He knows the importance and urgency of things very well in his heart. For him, on this critical day of turning point in his destiny, the most urgent and important thing is to accompany Niu Yuanyuan to change his life's fate, rather than wasting time on trivial matters. Moreover, although Yangqing University advocates for military force and has established rules for challenge at any time, this does not mean that killing can be done casually, especially for those who have lost their ability to resist. They will be severely punished. Under normal circumstances, Yi Chong would not engage in such irrational behavior. However, if it is in a life-or-death duel, everything is a different story. As one of the universities that values martial arts, Yangqing University has a duel arena on campus. From this point, it can also be seen that Yangqing University has a unique position in the martial arts world. After all, not every university can have a battlefield that disregards life and death. Because of this, many off-campus individuals, including the general public, martial arts practitioners, and especially skilled practitioners of martial arts, will openly solve seemingly troublesome problems on the duel arena if they meet the qualification requirements and obtain approval. Of course, he didn't know much about these things before, but as he grew older, experienced more, and gained a deeper understanding of the world, he gradually understood that the real world was not as simple as it seemed on the surface. Hee, you big rascal, you're really good or bad? You lied to me so badly. Niu Yuanyuan pouted and looked at Yi Chong. Now know why you didn't rehearse with me. Hee, you secretly went to practice martial arts, right? Practicing martial arts. Yi Chong let out a bitter smile to himself. At that time, I almost spent all my time outside of studying searching for family, so where did I have time to practice martial arts? To be honest, 100 years ago, I was really weak. Even if I were to describe it as powerless, there was no problem at all. However, now I am different. I will use 100 years of rich experience, transformed into tremendous strength, to protect the person I love well. You've thought too much, Yuanyuan. Yi Chong smiled slightly. I won't accompany you to rehearsal, not because I'm practicing martial arts, but because I'm afraid of being scared by you. You're saying that I dance poorly, right? Niu Yuanyuan lightly stomped her feet and pouted at the other person. I'm ignoring you. Hurry up, Yuanyuan, be obedient. Yi Chong tilted the corner of his mouth and gently pulled the other person forward, smiling as he said. Do you know that your current appearance is the most beautiful, just like water blooming from hibiscus, beautiful naturally and pure. Any kind of makeup used on you is irresponsible to you, so that's why I said I'm afraid of being scared by you. Yi Chong, I really like being with you, Niu Yuanyuan whispered shyly, pressing her face against the other person's arm. The two of them had already walked several tens of meters while chatting and laughing. You two, wait a minute. You've beaten someone up like this, not even paying for medical expenses, just want to pat your butt and leave. A gloomy voice suddenly sounded from behind Yi Chong and Niu Yuanyuan. You Feng. A burst of screams erupted from the surrounding crowd. This guy is a warrior from the Iron Hammer Martial Arts Club, very powerful. It is said that one person has defeated 3 other warriors before, and someone like Yen Dong can fight more than 10. This time Yi Chong is really finished. He doesn't know that Yen Dong has a very close relationship with the Iron Hammer Martial Arts Club. Don't talk nonsense if you don't know. How did you know that Yu Feng could hit 10 Yen Dong? Have you seen it with your own eyes? Cut. They are full of affection, and who has hit who is uncertain. But if Yi Chong dares to provoke Yu Feng's friends, I will have to peel off my skin even if I can't die. Peeling off the skin. No way. Yu Feng is not only a friend of Yen Dong, but also a young man. Most importantly, Yen Dong's injury has become so severe in front of everyone. Can peeling off the skin be so simple? I see, maybe today is Yi Chong's last day in this world. Alright, let's start mourning. Boom. A burst of loud laughter suddenly came out. Da. A girl rushed out of the crowd of onlookers and ran quickly to Niu Yuanyuan's side, shouting anxiously, Yuanyuan, don't stand here foolishly. Be careful if they fight and hurt you. Hurry up, let's stay away. Lu Xiaolei, with a charming figure and a beautiful appearance like a flower, is Niu Yuanyuan's best friend. They grew up together from a young age and have always had a very good relationship. When they have free time, they often stay together and talk quietly. This time, she saw from a long distance that something had happened here and found Niu Yuanyuan involved. Naturally, she was eager to pull her away to avoid being hurt. Xiaolei, I'm not leaving. Yi Chong hit someone because of me. I'm not leaving, I want to stand by his side and be his strong support. Niu Yuanyuan shook her head slowly. Xiaolei, don't worry about me, leave here quickly. Lu Xiaolei grabbed Niu Yuanyuan's arm and looked speechless. However, she had no choice. What Niu Yuanyuan believes is usually not easily turned back, so Lu Xiaolei can only shrug her shoulders and stand beside her. Just from Niu Yuanyuan's pale face, it can be seen that her heart is very nervous. Lu Xiaolei could only smile bitterly and shake her head when she saw this situation. She understood that the silly girl in front of her should have fallen into the river of love. Yi Chong looked at Yu Feng quietly without saying anything. However, his eyes involuntarily squinted. Undoubtedly, the muscular giant in front of him, who is 2 meters tall, has indeed brought him considerable pressure. Especially the black hammer emblem on this guy's neck gives a fierce and powerful feeling. Baby, what did you do? How did you come? Hurry up and kill this bastard for me. Yen Dong, lying on the ground, saw Yu Feng come and a look of ecstasy appeared in his eyes, howling like a dying hungry wolf. Baby. Yen Dong's name is Yu Feng baby. Boom. The scene burst into bursts of laughter. Chapter 5, I am responsible for hurting you. You are responsible for healing. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Lu Xiaolei was originally quite anxious, but upon hearing these words, she immediately laughed and trembled on Niu Yuanyuan's shoulder, giving people a feeling of waves rolling. Niu Yuanyuan couldn't help but smile, but her gaze towards Yu Feng and Yen Dong was filled with a strong sense of disgust. Yi Chong simply covered his face with his hands, afraid that he would burst into laughter and ruin the serious atmosphere that should have been present during the fight. You bastard! Didn't I buy you cigarettes? Yu Feng shouted at Yen Dong, are you so anxious? Scream! Scream! An uncontrollable burst of laughter suddenly came from the crowd at the scene. Yi Chong, you bastard, how dare you sneak attack me? Now that my father-in-law is here, you want to run. Hee, it's not possible. Wait to death. You filthy and despicable trash. Didn't you be very arrogant just now? Yen Dong shouted fiercely at Yi Chong, looking at him, wanting to jump up and bite him twice immediately. Yu Feng. Yi Chong looked at the other person quietly. Are you sure you want me to compensate for his medical expenses? Nonsense. You must compensate him for his medical expenses today. Yu Feng's face was cold and he grinned heavily. Also, kneel in front of me immediately and beg for my forgiveness. Otherwise, you will find your little feet and take a walk in your mouth. Okay, your suggestion is great. However, what I was saying earlier was, are you sure you want me to only compensate him for his medical expenses? Yi Chong's mouth curled up with a meaningful curve, don't worry about you. Yu Feng's face showed a stunned expression, clearly not understanding the situation for a moment. Okay. Then we'll do what you want. Yi Chong smiled slightly, I'm responsible for hurting you. You're responsible for healing. Shua. Yi Chong shook his body and rushed forward. The speed was as fast as a ghost, even he couldn't believe he had such amazing abilities. Before Yu Feng could react, Yi Chong had already flashed in front of him and grinned at him. Yu Feng is truly a warrior of the Iron Hammer Club. When his body undergoes great changes, he remains calm and firm, lifting his right leg to kick him fiercely. Shwa! Yi Chong hooked his hands around the opponent's ankles and then turned his hands counterclockwise. A stunning scene appeared. Yu Feng's body flew up directly, and a familiar scene suddenly reappeared. Boom! The scene was like a frying pan, with various sounds spreading around. And among these sounds, the most common one is crazy screaming or exclaiming. Oh my goodness, what exactly happened? This is Yu Feng, a samurai from the Hammer Society. Why did he fly like Yen Dong with just one move? This is impossible. Am I dreaming? That's not right. Yi Chong should be a useless trash. He doesn't have any strength in his hands, so he can't defeat the warriors of the Hammer Club. But now? How could this be? How did he do it? Yen Dong looked at everything happening in front of him with a bewildered expression on his face. His mouth was wide open, and his gaze was filled with an incredulous expression, as if he was watching his own body fluttering in the air. Lu Xiaolei was simply stunned. Miracles happen right in front of us. A man of ordinary height was holding onto a giant man who was 2 meters tall with one hand, swinging back and forth in the air as if dancing a scarecrow. Bang, bang, bang. The sound of the body colliding with the cement floor is both terrifying and piercing. Niu Yuanyuan gently covered her red lips and looked at Yi Chong with an indescribable and complex expression, as if a girl was looking at the male god. This is not over yet. Yi Chong quickly changed his way of swinging. To be more precise, it means turning a swing into a twitch. Bang. Bang bang. Bang bang. Yu Feng's body was like a humanoid whip, constantly whipping on the cement floor. Click. Click. Click, click. Ah ah. The crisp sound was accompanied by screams of agony, as well as the screams of surprise from the surrounding crowd, all intertwined together, groaning in disorder between heaven and earth, as if a dying beast was howling mournfully. Shwa! Yi Chong let go and Yu Feng flew to the side, landing on Yen Dong. The two immediately rolled into a ball, looking at each other with indescribable complexity in their eyes. Puff! Puff! The two of them each spewed out a mouthful of old blood, their heads and faces covered in blood, filthy and indescribable. Wow, wow! Yen Dong collapsed directly, buried his head on the ground, and began to cry. Yu Feng looked at Yi Chong with frightened and restless eyes, as if a small milk dog was watching a calm and majestic lion. This is not right. As a samurai of the Iron Hammer Martial Arts Club, I have a good understanding of the personnel of various martial arts clubs within Yangqing University. I have not heard of Yi Chong, a big waist, participating in any martial arts club, nor have I seen him practice martial arts, but why is it so powerful? Is he a descendant of the martial arts family? Not right. The descendants of the martial arts family are definitely the second generation of the martial arts, and they are all powerful and powerful masters. How could they be called big garbage and big waste? No reason. Impossible. Yu Feng felt like he was getting confused as he thought about it. In the future, I don't want to see you all. Yi Chong gave a cold smile, otherwise, I'll see you and fight until you can understand people's language. Go away. Wow. A commotion echoed around, not very loud, but a sense of shock could be heard from within. Second Olympics. Yi Chong is very domineering. It's not common to say such things to people in martial arts clubs. People have been beaten up, are you afraid of speaking harshly? However, I have heard that this martial arts club loves face the most. No matter what reason, if people in the club are bullied, the whole club will come forward to seek revenge. The Iron Hammer Martial Arts Club. It's not easy. Although Yi Chong is powerful enough, he can only fight fiercely against ordinary warriors. If he really compares himself to the martial arts masters in the Iron Hammer Club, there will be more than one level difference. Moreover, he only has one person, and there are quite a few people in the Iron Hammer Club. He's done. Yen Dong listened to the discussions of the people around him, his eyes shining with excitement, as if he had already seen Yi Chong being trampled on the ground, screaming and wailing. Yu Feng's mouth curved with a sneer, and his gaze was filled with sarcasm. You damn bastard. Don't think you have won. This has just begun. Our Iron Hammer Martial Arts Club's experts are not something that you trash can compete with. It won't be long before you regret coming to this world. Gudu. Yu Feng swallowed a mouthful of saliva and blood, his eyes bloodshot and filled with an eager expression. Niu Yuanyuan raised her head and quietly gazed at Yi Chong, her heart already surging like waves in the sea. Is this Yi Chong whom I know? I thought he was very kind, brave, and full of tolerance and love for me, so he made me feel very safe. But I never expected his combat power to be so powerful. I still remember the day we met, he fought with 3 little hooligans and had almost no fighting power. I didn't expect that not long had passed, and his force had become so powerful. Oh my goodness. Is this true? I feel like there's nothing to be afraid of with him anymore. Is this the true sense of security? Shua. Niu Yuanyuan's face turned red, and her eyes were filled with a sense of happiness. Chapter 6. The Original Trajectory. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Da-da-da. A pleasant sound of footsteps sounded. A girl dressed in milky white walked over, looking pure and elegant, tall and beautiful. Wow. As soon as the girl in white appeared, there was a commotion at the scene. Gu Bingqian. Wow, the ice beauty has appeared. It's really beautiful. Haha, today was really eye-opening. I didn't expect to see the top 10 beauties of Yangqing University, the ice beauty. It's really a feast for the eyes. What? You only know one thing but not the other. Our school has recently selected 3 beautiful girls of all sizes. Gu Bingqian is an ice girl, Niu Yuanyuan is a hot girl, and Lu Xiaolei is a water girl. Do you know? Ha ha ha, people say only one of the 3 beautiful girls of all sizes can be considered a winner in life. Hey hey, isn't it that today 3 beautiful girls of all sizes are gathered together? TSK TSK TSK, it's so beautiful. Gu Bingqian is a cold girl that is easy to understand. At first glance, she is pure and pure, very cold. But what does Niu Yuanyuan's hot girl and Lu Xiaolei's water girl mean? Don't you understand? Alright, I'll explain to you. What about this hot girl? Look at Niu Yuanyuan's body, hee, don't you feel hot yourself? Look at Lu Xiaolei's little face again, isn't it pink and charming, like a blooming flower after the spring rain? I'm going. If you don't tell me, I haven't really thought about it yet. But now, it's really amazing. Gu Bingqian is pure and pure, full of imagination, Niu Yuanyuan has a hot figure, making people's heat soar, Lu Xiaolei has a lotus-like appearance, making people salivate. That's it. Seeing these 3 beautiful girls of all sizes, it seems like I can't walk anymore. Yuanyuan, Xiaolei, Gu Bingqian quietly passed by Yi Chong with a cold aroma, are you here? Bingqian. Bingqian. Niu Yuanyuan and Lu Xiaolei both greeted with a smile. Very soon. The 3 beautiful women whispered and talked non-stop together. Although the 3 of them are not from the same major, they may be like birds of a feather. After participating in a school-organized activity together, the 3 of them became good friends who talked about everything, and even often appeared in groups on campus, becoming a beautiful scenery. It is precisely because of this that they were awarded the title of a beautiful girl of 3 sizes. Yi Chong touched his nose and couldn't help but feel a wave of ups and downs in his heart as he watched the 3 of them whispering together. As a reborn person from the future, it is truly exciting, speechless, and full of endless fantasies to think of all the experiences I have gone through and now stand at the moment when everything has not yet begun. He 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 he. After a burst of light laughter, Gu Bingqian's beautiful eyes quietly looked over, and Yi Chong smiled slightly and nodded. Lu Xiaolei is Niu Yuanyuan's best friend. Growing up together, he naturally knew her for a long time, but Gu Bingqian is not. This should be considered their first time meeting. At this moment, Yi Chong's thoughts fluctuated and his mood surged. Seeing Gu Bingqian's cold and elegant appearance, if it weren't for her rebirth, he would never have believed that he would intersect with her on the path of martial arts in the future. Bingqian, he is my boyfriend Yi Chong. Niu Yuanyuan smiled and grabbed Yi Chong's arm, her face full of pride. Hello, I am Gu Bingqian, a good friend of Yuanyuan and Xiaolei. Gu Bingqian looked at the other person with beautiful eyes. I just saw everything. Your combat experience is very rich, and your abilities are very strong. With just one move, you defeated a first-class junior warrior like Yu Feng, which shows that you are much stronger than him. Shua shua. Niu Yuanyuan and Lu Xiaolei exchanged a glance, with a hint of surprise in their eyes. You should know that the reason why Gu Bingqian is called the Ice Beauty and Ice Girl is not only because of her graceful figure and cool demeanor, but also because she doesn't like to talk too much. But just now, she said so much when she first met Yi Chong, which was clearly abnormal. Of course, it would make the two of them feel strange. Undoubtedly, this indicates that Gu Bingqian is very interested in Yi Chong. Strong, not really. Yi Chong shook his head slowly. Maybe it's just that they're too weak. You. Gu Bingqian hesitated to speak, quietly glanced at Niu Yuanyuan and Lu Xiaolei, smiled as if the ice and snow had melted, and the spring flowers were blooming, beautiful beyond words. Nice to meet you, Yi Chong. Yi Chong smiled slightly and nodded. For some reason, Gu Bingqian's face suddenly turned red and she smiled at Niu Yuanyuan and Lu Xiaolei, saying, I have something else to do. Let's go first. Da. The crisp and rhythmic footsteps drifted away, leaving only rows of colorful gazes behind. Oh my mom is still waiting for me. Lu Xiaolei lightly stomped her foot and looked at Niu Yuanyuan. I'll leave first too. My mom is so hot-tempered. If she goes late, my butt will definitely bloom. Hee, look at what you're saying, Auntie wouldn't be willing to hit you. Slow down on the way, Xiaolei, let's have coffee together another day. Niu Yuanyuan smiled brightly. Let's go, Yuanyuan, we also need to hurry up a bit. Yi Chong gently grabbed Niu Yuanyuan's hand and walked forward. She followed closely for 2 steps and looked up in a daze, saying, Yi Chong, do you think you will not want me in the future? What? Yi Chong hesitated slightly. Why do you say that? Yi Chong. I suddenly had a strange feeling in my heart just now, as if my future was dark, with no light at all. Niu Yuanyuan said as she leaned her head against the other person's arm, I'm so scared. Shua. Yi Chong couldn't help but feel a pain in his heart. He turned around and hugged her in his arms, slowly and firmly saying, Yuanyuan, with me here, don't be afraid. I will always be by your side, and no one can hurt you. Well, Niu Yuanyuan shyly swayed her body and buried it in Yi Chong's arms. It's really nice to have you. I really hope time stops like this. No, Yuanyuan, time cannot stop, nor will it stop. Yi Chong smiled slightly and stared at the distant sky with bright eyes. Nothing, including time, can stop us from getting better and better. Ding-ling-ling. A series of phone rings. Niu Yuanyuan picked up her phone and said, Jiafeng, I'm heading towards the rehearsal room. I won't be late. No, hee, Song Jiafeng's voice showed a hint of excitement. Yuanyuan, it's a last-minute notice that we won't be rehearsing in the rehearsal room tonight. The venue will be changed to the VIP-011 banquet hall of the Grand Estate Hotel. Come and see you, don't leave. What? Niu Yuanyuan was stunned for a moment. Why did you go there? Hehe, didn't I tell you earlier? There's a big shot coming to see our performance tonight, oh. Song Jiafeng didn't know who she was with, laughing and dodging. Yuanyuan, you're really a big shot watching our performance. You even make people squat on the floor of the rehearsal room to watch. Hehe, of course, we need to find a more comfortable place. Oh. I'm busy, come on, I promise you're satisfied. Niu Yuanyuan put down her phone and looked at Yi Chong, who frowned slightly and pondered to herself. That's right. What happened tonight is indeed moving forward according to the original trajectory. Chapter 7. I'm hungry, let's eat here. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Grand Rich Hotel. Room VIP 011. As soon as Yi Chong and Niu Yuanyuan arrived at the door, Song Jiafeng hurriedly walked out with an anxious expression on her face. How did you come, Yuanyuan? A bunch of people are waiting for you. This is exactly when we finish work, the road is very congested. Niu Yuanyuan smiled apologetically and looked at the banquet hall again. Jiafeng, isn't this a place to eat? Let's rehearse here. Alright, hurry in. Of course, we rehearse after finishing our meal. We can't rehearse hungry, can we? Song Jiafeng smiled and grabbed Niu Yuanyuan's small hand, then coldly glanced at Yi Chong. Alright, the person has arrived. You, the flower protector, can leave now. Yi Chong's eyes narrowed slightly and he didn't speak. Jiafeng, what are you talking about? Niu Yuanyuan hugged Yi Chong's arm and said, he came to see me rehearse. He won't leave. Oh, is that right? Song Jiafeng looked unhappy and looked at Yi Chong. Then you can take a stroll around the Grand Rich Hotel first. It's a super 5-star hotel, very beautiful. Hehe, haven't you been in before? Yi Chong's mouth curled up, too lazy to pay attention to her. Jiafeng, Niu Yuanyuan was a bit angry, if you continue to behave like this, then I will ignore you. Yuanyuan, you're really amazing. Song Jiafeng pulled Niu Yuanyuan aside and murmured softly. You're so foolish. You said you have such good conditions, why are you with him? You don't have a good appearance, you don't have money. I heard that your family is still gone, you're just a bottom of society trash. Aren't you struggling with yourself? I won't let you say that about him. Niu Yuanyuan's face turned red with anger. If you talk nonsense again, I'll leave. Okay, Yuanyuan, I won't say anything more. Song Jiafeng grabbed the other person's arm and said with a smile. Isn't it because there aren't that many seats in the room? It's really difficult to arrange for one more person. I think so. The buffet at the Grand Hotel is very upscale, and the seafood is particularly good. Let him go and make a meal first and record it in room VIP 011. If there's anything else, let's talk about it after dinner, okay? Niu Yuanyuan and Song Jiafeng looked at Yi Chong together, and without saying a word, they pulled Niu Yuanyuan and pushed the door into VIP room 11. He knew very well in his heart that although he had been reborn from the future to the present 100 years ago, he only had hundreds of years of memories in his mind. The current development trend of everything in the world has not really changed. So, even though he knows there are some things that are dangerous, he cannot choose to avoid them. Take the current situation as an example, he cannot forcefully prevent Niu Yuanyuan from not participating. As the saying goes, under the trend of the times, it is advisable to follow the trend and seek breakthroughs in the existing development trajectory, in order to change one's destiny. This is the wise move. Otherwise, it would be against the laws and principles of heaven and earth, like a weak horse shaking a tree, overestimating one's own abilities. It's probably just a waste of effort, and one may not even know how to die. This irrational behavior is impossible for him, who has experienced it for 100 years. Besides, after finally being reborn, how could he easily let go of those who shouldn't? Oh my God! As the two of them pushed open the door and drove straight in, Song Jiafeng muttered and followed closely inside. I saw a spacious and magnificent private room, at least nearly 100 square meters in size, with a large round table in the center that could accommodate more than 30 people. Now, more than 20 people have taken their seats, including 3 or 4 women, all members of the school dance troupe, and there are still 5 or 6 seats available. Yuan, sit here. Song Jiafeng ran forward, patted the back of a chair, and then smiled at the crowd. Let me introduce you to everyone. This is Niu Yuan, also the flower leader of our Yangqing University dance art troupe. How about that? Is she pretty? Hee hee. Flower leader. This name doesn't seem appropriate, does it? Yi Chong gave Song Jiafeng a cold glance, which was consistent with my initial investigation and speculation. This woman is really not a good person. Nice to meet you. Niu Yuan smiled politely. My boyfriend Yi Chong and I arrived late. I apologize to everyone. How happy can you be? A man across from him, who looked less than 30 years old, stared at Niu Yuan's body casually. Come and sit with me, and let me be happy too. Boom. A burst of loud laughter echoed in the spacious room. Brother Lu, take a look at you. Yuan is a typical and obedient girl from a little girl's family. She's a cute little girl and has never experienced such an occasion before, which would scare her. Song Jiafeng smiled and supported Niu Yuan's shoulder. Sit down quickly, Yuan. Boss Lu is the president of Xianxia Group, a serious and handsome big boss, rich and handsome. He loves to joke with little girls and their families. He's such a nice person. Lu Xiqiang. Yi Chang's eyes narrowed and slowly sat beside Niu Yuan. This guy is only in his 20s. Although he is very young, he is already the president of a holding group and has developed rapidly. Almost every year, he is named one of the top 10 young entrepreneurs in Yangqing City and has a high reputation. Objectively speaking, Lu Xiqiang is quite capable, especially in terms of business management, and has a strong ability to seize opportunities. Of course, the most important thing is that he has a good father who is the chairman of a listed company. Undoubtedly, there are investment, business, and channel connections between Xiqiang Group and the listed company. In this situation, it is difficult for Xiqiang Group to not develop without worrying about funds, business, research and development, and channels. Having both wealth and power, as well as fame, Lu Xiqiang was also good-looking and young. Therefore, he quickly became one of the most famous young men in Yangqing City, with countless beautiful women falling in love and giving him gifts. He also enjoyed it tirelessly, deeply immersed in it, and indulged in the pleasures of fish and water. However, eating too much good food can give people a feeling of being tasteless. Lu Xiqiang has long wanted to change his taste, and his first target is female college students at Yangqing University. Seeing that Niu Yuan was a bit unhappy, Song Jiafeng immediately stood up and said, "Why don't everyone introduce themselves, so that when playing games later, no one knows anyone, and then there won't be any fun." Wow! A burst of cheers rang out. Jiafeng, aren't we here for rehearsal today? Niu Yuan looked at Song Jiafeng with a misty expression. Why are we having dinner now and playing games later? When exactly is the rehearsal time? Yuan, you're really stupid. Song Jiafeng lowered her voice, her eyes lit up with hope, and said with a smile, "These people here are not simple. There is no one who is not a social elite or successful person. It's a great blessing to be able to attend such a gathering and meet so many capable people." "Oh, Jiafeng, do you mean we won't rehearse tonight?" Niu Yuan frowned slightly. "If we don't rehearse, then I'll go back first. I also have to go to have supper with Yi Chong." Yuan, you. Hee hee. You're really silly and cute. Look at this table. Song Jiafeng scanned the table with her eyes and smiled. There are so many world-class delicacies left to eat, but you're going to have a late-night snack. Are you stupid? But Niu Yuanyuan was about to speak when she heard Yi Chong beside her gently say, I'm hungry, let's eat here. Chapter 8. Not important. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Very soon. Everyone present began to introduce themselves. In addition to Niu Yuanyuan and Song Jiafeng, there are also 3 young girls from the dance art troupe of Yangqing University, all dressed very beautifully, but they are noticeably inferior to Niu Yuanyuan's natural and pure beauty. As for those 20 men, they all looked like they were in their 20s, just like Song Jiafeng said, each with extraordinary resumes or deep family backgrounds. Among them, at least 10 people own their own companies or profitable industries, while the rest are either executives from well-known companies, social celebrities, or young talents who have returned from studying abroad. In short, these people are all dignified, with extraordinary temperament, and at first glance, they are successful individuals in society. In addition, their aesthetic views were also very consistent. The gaze towards Niu Yuanyuan was full of a fiery expression, which caused a strong jealousy in the eyes of the girls from the other 3 school dance art troupes. Of course, except for Song Jiafeng. At this moment, the person who laughs the happiest and most pleasing to the ear is her. From time to time, she would quietly look at Lu Shiqiang, with a meaningful smile in her eyes. And all of this, of course, did not escape Yi Chong's eyes. Yuanyuan, come and sit with me, Lu Shiqiang smiled at Niu Yuanyuan. Your place is too crowded. It's okay, Niu Yuanyuan politely smiled, I'm pretty good here. What's good? Lu Shiqiang tilted his head and smiled at the other person, hee hee, come over quickly. You're not important. But I'm important. Wow. A commotion erupted at the scene. Song Jiafeng and 3 other girls all blushed and lowered their heads with a smile. Niu Yuanyuan was slightly stunned. Although she didn't know why everyone was laughing, her intuition told her that it wasn't a good thing, so she lowered her head and didn't speak. Yi Chong seemed to have not heard anyone speak and slowly picked up the vegetables to eat. Yuanyuan, look at you, why are you so immature? Song Jiafeng put her mouth in Niu Yuanyuan's ear. Lu Gu is not an ordinary person. He is the president of Xiqiang Group, a true young entrepreneur and big boss. Even the new sports hall of Yangqing University was jointly built by Lu and his father. Every time he goes to our school, the principal has to accompany him. You are so foolish, go. I'm not going, I want to be with Yi Chong. Niu Yuanyuan shook her head a bit angrily, I want to go with you. He seems to be quite familiar with you. Song Jiafeng smiled and blinked before whispering, this can replace it. He wants you to go, can he be willing if I go? Yi Chong picked up a piece of salt water and put it into his mouth, slowly chewing it. Although the voices of Song Jiafeng and Niu Yuanyuan were small, they were all heard in his ears. After 100 years of experience and long-term cultivation, he understands how to make the various organs of his body more professional and sensitive. Moreover, he has already opened the shackles of his body and taken a crucial step in the art of refining his body. Therefore, it is not an exaggeration to say that he is really hearing, seeing, and smelling well now. As long as he is willing, he is even more powerful than a police dog. However, he didn't open his mouth to say anything, but quietly enjoyed the delicious Yangqing saltwater goose. What are you two whispering about? Lu Shiqiang tilted his head and looked at Song Jiafeng with a smile. Jiafeng, did you speak ill of me? How could I look at Yuan's face? Where, brother Lu, how dare I say bad things about your boss? Hee hee. Song Jiafeng smiled coquettishly and looked at Lu Shiqiang with a meaningful expression in her eyes. I'm introducing brother Lu to Yuan. Introduce me. That's not easy. Let me talk. Lu Shiqiang straightened his head and grinned happily. I won't talk about the surface things anymore. I searched a lot online and wanted to see if I could do it myself. Today let's talk about some behind-the-scenes things. Let's talk about what my friends call me in private. Xiaoqiang, the invincible Xiaoqiang, this name is really ridiculous, isn't it? Wow. A burst of light laughter spread from the scene. Ah, Brother Lu, this name sounds. Song Jiafeng smiled and her eyes narrowed. So much so. Xiaofeng, I don't like your stuttering the most. It's better for me to be happy than myself, Lu Shiqiang grinned wide. Don't tell me, this Xiaoqiang is really the Xiaoqiang you mentioned in your family. Of course, I'm referring to quality, However, my strongest ability is not that I can't fight to death, but that I can make people want to be immortal and unable to give up. That's my Xiaoqiang's true ability. Boom. In the vast room, there was a mix of noise and laughter. Except for Yi Chong, all the men's eyes turned towards Niu Yuanyuan, filled with an indescribable fiery and spicy color. And those three girls had a smile on their faces, but their eyes were filled with jealousy. Song Jiafeng looked at Niu Yuanyuan with a smile on her face, and then at Lu Shiqiang with a peach blossom-like expression. Yi Chong seemed to have not heard the laughter of the people around him and continued to eat slowly. Look at you guys, where have you all thought of? You guys, each one has ghosts in their hearts. Lu Shiqiang tilted his head again and looked at Niu Yuanyuan with a smile. What I'm talking about is in the business world, but what you're thinking about is men's love and women's love. It's unbelievable. So. Brother Lu, Song Jiafeng chuckled coquettishly, just tell me, why has the desire for immortality in death become a business thing? Xiao Feng's question is good. Lu Shiqiang tilted his head and nodded. Everyone is a sensible person. In the business world, we should not only focus on ourselves, but also emphasize mutual benefit and win-win. If we want to become better, we need to think ahead and make our business partners better. If our business partners are so passionate, they will be willing to stop and cooperate with you forever. This is how we can do well, everyone. Let's become better together. Pop pop pop. For a moment, warm applause rang out on the scene. Okay. Brother Lu is amazing. Mr. Lu said it too well. Mr. Lu is really a genius in the business world. Being able to cooperate with Mr. Lu is the happiest thing. Almost everyone's gaze towards Lu Shiqiang was filled with approval. Lu Gu, what you said is absolutely great. I really hope to work under you in the future. Song Jiafeng smiled brightly and raised her cup. Lu Gu, Xiaoqiang Gu, I toast you and wish you always so strong. Scream. For a moment, almost everyone raised their cups and loudly congratulated Lu Shiqiang. However, Lu Shiqiang did not finish the wine in his glass, but tilted his head and smiled silently at Niu Yuanyuan and Yi Chong. Yuanyuan, hold the glass and let's toast together. Song Jiafeng lightly touched Niu Yuanyuan's elbow and whispered. I don't know how to drink. Niu Yuanyuan frowned slightly and picked up her tea cup. How about I have some tea? How about that? Song Jiafeng picked up her glass and handed it to Niu Yuanyuan. The whole room is full of alcohol, but you don't drink it. It's not right, Yuanyuan. I remember you had a little drink last time in the dormitory. It's not a big deal. Come on, drink less. Clack. The bones of the saltwater goose fell into the bone dish and made a slight noise. Chapter 9. Thank you, producer. You are listening at novelfull.audio. You see, I've forgotten. What's the surname of Yuan's friend? Lu Shiqiang tilted his head and smiled at Yi Chong. Is his surname Zhu? Brother Lu, his name is Yi Chong, Song Jiafeng quickly picked up the conversation and smiled. Yuan didn't know him for long, but sometimes she made him run errands. Upon hearing these words, Yuan pouted angrily and glanced at Song Jiafeng, clearly feeling a bit unhappy. Yi Chong tilted the corner of his mouth, took a light sip of the tea, and then looked at Lu Shiqiang with a smile on his face. "Oh, it's Mr. Yi." Lu Shiqiang tilted his head and looked at Yi Chong with a smile. "I don't know where Mr. Yi is from. I'll visit him another day." Yangqing University. Yi Chong clearly had no interest in speaking more. "Oh, it turns out that Yi is always a teacher. I'm disrespectful. I'm disrespectful." Lu Shiqiang laughed as he sat up straight. "I've been afraid of teachers the most since I was young. No wonder I was scared, trembling the first time I saw you. Haha, hello Teacher Yi. Teacher Yi has worked hard." Boom. A burst of loud laughter burst out in the huge room. Except for Yuan, everyone's gaze towards Yi Chong was filled with ridicule and mockery. "I am a student majoring in marketing at the School of Economics and Management." Yi Chong slowly put on disposable gloves, picked up a saltwater goose leg, and took a gentle bite, looking indifferent. "Impossible. Absolutely impossible." Lu Shiqiang patted the table with a snap. "Teacher Yi must not be a student. You're so awesome that I'm scared at first sight. How could you be a student? Wow." The scene suddenly became noisy, as if it had exploded. "Yeah, Teacher Yi, what are you teaching? It seems like you're not young anymore, are you still in good health? Hee hee. Teacher Yi, when I see you, you look like a role model. You can tell from small things. Take the example of eating saltwater geese. You're really professional in gnawing on them, it's like. Huh, it's so clean that there's not even a speck of meat residue left on it, right? Teacher Yi, without saying anything else, from the way you speak, I know you're not an ordinary teacher. You must be a professor now, right? TSK, it's really an honor to have dinner with Professor Yi. By the way, when you call beast, do you really look like a beast? Hello, Teacher Yi. When I was studying at the University of California, Berkeley in the United States, I knew very well that teacher-student relationships are not easy. The pressure from all aspects is breathless. May I ask Teacher Yi, how did you break through the moral bottom line and go to great lengths to catch up with Yuan? Schwa. Yuan turned her head to look at Song Jiafeng, with an angry expression on her face. Song Jiafeng, you tricked me into coming here today to make your friends humiliate my boyfriend. I misread you before. Song Jiafeng, listen, from now on, we don't know anyone, I'm leaving. After speaking, Yuan stood up directly. Yuan, don't be impulsive. Sit down first and listen to me. Song Jiafeng stood up closely and pulled Yuan's arm, wanting her to sit down again. With so much social pressure now, it's normal for friends to gather together, drink, eat, and joke with each other. You must not be ungrateful. I'm not a glass heart. This is not a joke. Yuan said angrily, this is clearly a blatant insult. Naked. Lu Shiqiang tilted his head and looked at Yuan's body with a smile, scanning from top to bottom. This word is very elegant, very vivid, and imaginative, without losing depth. I like it. Humph, rogue. Yuan's face turned red with anger and she sat down, clearly not wanting the other person's gaze to sweep her body recklessly. Wrong. Yuan, you said one less word, Lu Shiqiang grinned with a floating expression in his eyes. Adding another big word before it. Big hooligan sounds even better. My women like to lie in bed, act coquettishly, and call me that. In the future, I will definitely show you, Wow. The burst of laughter suddenly erupted into a chorus. Some people even kept patting the table, clearly looking extremely happy. On weekdays, these people present here are elites from all walks of life, including many academic leaders. They are all humble gentlemen in front of others, but once they tear off their disguise, they have no bottom line compared to the small hooligans in society. Teacher Yi, are you so good at eating saltwater geese? Have you never eaten them before? Lu Shiqiang slowly tilted his head to the other side and looked at him with a smile. He said calmly, if you haven't eaten them before, you should eat more. The lion-headed geese in this wealthy hotel are well known throughout the country, and you can't even eat them outside. But, Teacher Yi, let me tell you, the most delicious thing about this lion-headed goose is not goose meat, but goose butt. A child like you who eats more goose butt will grow taller, stronger, and bigger. If you want to be a hooligan, you will have the capital. Then, you don't have to flatter others in a low voice anymore. There will be many people coming to kneel and lick you. Why? Because you have changed from a child to a big idiot. Boom boom. A burst of crazy laughter erupted in the huge room. Almost every man grinned and laughed incessantly, his gaze towards Yi Chong filled with a strong mockery. At the same time, all four girls, including Song Jiafeng, looked at Yi Chong with a smirk and disdain in their eyes. Yi Chong continued to eat the goose legs calmly, smiling at Lu Shiqiang without any intention of answering. Yi Chong, let's go quickly. Niu Yuanyuan tugged at him, tears streaming down her face. Didn't you say you wanted to invite me to watch a movie? Don't forget. Let's go quickly, okay? Don't worry, Yuanyuan. Since you're here, you can rest assured and have a meal here. Yi Chong's lips curled up, and I said I invited you to watch a movie, so naturally I won't break my promise. Yu reading www.yuukangshu.net, and what you're currently watching is the movie I'm inviting you to watch. However, this is a real-life movie, and you're the female lead of this movie, and I'm the male lead of this movie. Ha ha ha. Upon hearing what Yi Chong said, the scene was as if it had exploded, with constant noise and ridicule. Shua. Yi Chong stood up. Wow. He poured out a large glass of baijiu, smiled at Lu Shiqiang and said, the first thing to thank for the film's successful start on schedule is the investor and producer of this realistic film, Mr. Lu Shiqiang. Shua. When Yi Chong said this, for some reason, the scene suddenly became quiet. Everyone had a hint of surprise on their faces, even Lu Shiqiang was a bit confused. Isn't this guy scared silly? How did he make it seem like the truth? Okay, it seems he's really being stimulated, isn't it? Second Olympics, it's too fragile, isn't it? What a lunatic. No. You're not right. He's not a lunatic, he should be a lunatic who ran out of a mental hospital. Now Niu Yuanyuan is in a miserable situation. I don't know why at first, I fell in love with such a big trash, and was laughed at. Now, this useless fool has been stimulated and turned into a mental illness. Hee, look at her. Will she still have the face to see people in the future? Niu Yuanyuan's face turned pale with fear, and she held Yi Chong's arm with her hand, full of concern. So, respected Mr. Lu Shiqiang, on behalf of Niu Yuanyuan and myself, I would like to toast you. After speaking, Yi Chong carried a full glass of wine and walked towards Lu Shiqiang, who was a bit confused, with a smile on his face. Chapter 10. Body like a rock, standing still. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Please. Yi Chong handed a full glass of wine forward. Wait, your glass of wine. So respectful, I won't drink it. Lu Shiqiang sat in his seat, tilted his head and glanced at Yi Chong, with endless mockery in his eyes. He didn't reach out to take the wine, kneel down. Serve it with both hands. Pop. Yi Chong's mouth curled up, his right hand lifted, and a loud slap hit the other person's face, while the wine in his left hand's cup did not spill a drop. Shua. Lu Shiqiang suddenly stood up, his left hand covering his face, and looked fiercely at Yi Chong, clearly feeling a bit confused. Boom! A burst of exclamation echoed at the scene. Everyone's gaze towards Yi Chong was filled with an incredulous expression. Chow, this idiot dares to hit Mr. Lu. I wonder if he is the president of Xianxia Group. Nima. Do you think Mr. Lu's nickname is for nothing? The name Xiaoqiang has another meaning, that is, his body is strong enough and his combat power is very strong. Killing an ordinary person is like pinching an ant. Yi Chong, this big waist, is going to be ruined today. Did I make a mistake? This kid is too brave, isn't he? Not only did he hit Boss Lu, but he also hit his face. I'll wipe it off. How could this be possible? There are really stupid people in this world who lack a brain or a string and don't know what to do. Song Jiafeng's eyes showed a strong hatred and ecstasy, and she thought to herself. I've been displeased with your surname Yi for a long time. Without you as a bastard to cause trouble, Niu Yuanyuan would have obediently listened to me. Why bother so much? Now, it's okay, you idiot dare to take the initiative to hit Boss Lu. It's unreasonable and beyond your control. Hee, you'll just wait for the corpse to come out soon. Big idiot, you've never seen how powerful Brother Lu is. Niu Yuanyuan's face had already turned pale with fear, and she looked extremely anxious. With so many men on the other side, Yi Chong is alone and will suffer a loss. What's going on? Yi Chong curled his lips and said, I'll treat you to a drink. If Mr. Lu doesn't drink, is this not giving me face? Second Olympics. Lu Shiqiang touched his swollen left cheek and finally regained consciousness. Being slapped in the face was a first that ever experience for him from childhood to adulthood. Moreover, in front of so many people, being slapped in the face by a widely recognized waste person is even more unbelievable to him. The most important thing is that the person who slapped him in the face is still the boyfriend of the girl who made him drool and burn himself, which makes him feel even more frustrated, angry, and unable to hold his face. You're so desperate. Lu Shiqiang swung his right fist and slammed towards Yi Chongmian, the wind howling and his momentum imposing. Just as his iron fist was about to hit the opponent, a loud bang came out. I saw his right forearm and fist suddenly turn backwards, hitting his face hard. Wow! Ah! Blood flows straight. A scream of agony arose. Lu Shiqiang had already fallen to the ground with a chair, and his right forearm was bending at an extremely eerie angle, making people couldn't help but cry in pain and feel cold. However, Yi Chong seemed to have never moved, still standing in the same place with a smile on his face, not even a drop spilled from the full glass of wine in his left hand. The first step in the basic cultivation of building body art is to be as solid as a rock, standing still. With over 100 years of experience, Yi Chong naturally has a deep understanding of how to cultivate building body art, and basic cultivation is naturally formed. Boom! A scream of surprise echoed in the vast room. Shwa shwa shwa. Almost everyone stood up with a bewildered expression on their faces. How could this be? Mr. Lu was clearly punching the other person, but suddenly turned his back and hit himself. And his arm. Oh my goodness, this is clearly completely broken, right? What exactly happened just now? The speed was really too fast, right? I only saw Brother Lu punching and someone surnamed Yi waving his hand. How did it become like this? This person surnamed Yi looks a bit strong. No, Yi. Yi Chong should be a big waist, but now. Oh my god, why is this? Niu Yuanyuan looked at Yi Chong's gaze, which was extremely complex, with a hint of pride, surprise, worry, and anxiety inside. However, when she saw a faint smile on his face, for some reason, her pounding heart calmed down. Shwa. Yi Chong took a step forward and stood in front of Lu Shiqiang. Hula, everyone suddenly became nervous. What do you want to do? Lu is always the president of Xianxia Group, don't you want to live anymore? Mr. Yi, the father of Mr. Lu, is the chairman of a listed company. He has a wide range of friends and is highly respected. If you are not foolish, it is best not to act recklessly, otherwise you will find it difficult to move forward. Yi Chong, do you understand some martial arts? No, I'm afraid you can't even consider martial arts. It's just the simplest fighting or fighting skills. With this ability, you dare to go against the Lu family. I think you want to die, right? Hurry up and step back, otherwise you'll regret it. Yi Chong raised the corner of his mouth, looked around, and smiled. It seems that you are really good friends of producer Lu. Otherwise, I wouldn't have invited you to come and play tricks. What's wrong? You have itching on your body, right? Come on, don't mutter behind me, take a step forward, let me see who you are. Wow. There was a commotion among the crowd, each looking indignant, but no one approached Yu reading www.yuukangshu.net. On the contrary. Their eyes were filled with fear and retreat, and no one spoke again, dodging and dodging. Quiet. The spacious room fell silent like this. Shua. Yi Chong curled his lips and bent down to look at Lu Shiqiang sitting on the ground. The latter shrank back and shouted fiercely, "Stop it. What do you want to do? If you do it again, I'll kill you." Pop. Without saying a word, Yi Chong threw another big ear scraper over. Puff. Lu Shiqiang spewed out a mouthful of old blood, and his head was thrown to one side. Yi Chong shook his hand and said with a smile, "I'm doing it. Come on, you're killing me." Lu Shiqiang said halfway, scared and constantly retreating, What do you really want to do? What do you want to do? Yi Chong raised his left hand and a full glass of wine appeared in front of the other person. Toast. What else can you do? You just toasted and didn't eat, so I made you drink the fine. Crazy. Lu Shiqiang's face showed a look of fear, you're just a crazy person. Crazy person. No, you look down on people too much. Yi Chong smiled slightly, you should be in front of the crazy person, and add a big word, big crazy person. The people I beat down are all lying on the ground and shouting like that. You remember it well. Don't say it wrong again next time. Alright, now the question is up, is this glass of wine that big crazy person salutes you to producer Lu drunk or not? After speaking, Yi Chong raised his right hand. Drink. Lu Shiqiang shrunk his neck in fear and opened his mouth to cry, I'll drink. Can't I drink? Yi Chong raised the corner of his mouth, raised his right hand, and scratched his head.